Are you a crazy cat lady?
I'm crazy and I'm a cat lady.
Tell me about it.
Kind of like a double whammy. I've got 2 huge fat cats. Hang on,
What are their names? What are their names?
Goldstein.
Yep.
And Pooh Bear.
Why? Come on, why?
Well, Goldstein is actually my husband because instead of saying Joe Blow or, Bugger Lugs, he'd go, Goldstein down the road. And then when we got this huge fat white cat, he went, got to call it Goldstein. So it's called Goldstein. And then the other one's Pooh Bear because he looks like he's wearing a cat suit. Like a cat who's put on a disguise of a cat suit because they're rag dolls. And so they don't know they're cats. They kind of just think they're amazing. And they don't know why not everyone wants to play with them.
If they're ever in the room while we're talking, feel free to point them out. Or can you? Oh, awesome. Oh, darling.
No.
Oh, darling. Oh, bless. I'm pretty biased towards my cat Thomas, and I think my cat's the most handsome. But I might have to change my tune.
How could you?
Very handsome. Is that Pooh Bear?
That's Goldstein, of course. He's a real slut. He's so perfect. Look at him.
Oh, he is so perfect. I'm hoping that my cat visits now, and that I can show you mine. I've got an orange one called Tom.
Oh, they're the best. Gingers are the best.
Yeah, he's really pretty cool. I mean, he breaks my heart every time he brings a mouse to the door, of course. But he's
more.
I actually rent the cat because he belonged to the house when I moved in. I just live in this little fibro rental.
Yeah.
And the 3 rules were you've got to water the fruit trees, you've got to mow the lawns, and you've got to look after the cat.
Yeah.
And feed the cat. They were the three rules. And really, the cat is the landlord, really, because it's kind of the cat's place,
Does he check the plants?
He's constantly patrolling and making sure that everything's okay. He's a very officious cat. Yeah.
This one is not. He'd be a hopeless landlord.
No, but Goldstein looks like she loves a cat. She.
Hey, it's a big...
He looks like he loves a cuddle.
Look at him.
He also looks about 14,000 kilos.
He's
big. Hey, he's bigger than you.
He's
bigger than you.
He's huge. Yeah, I'll put him there. He'll stay there.
Oh, that's just gorgeous. Hey, so look, I'm one of those tragic figures that has a cat and no kids. You've got cats and kids.
Yeah,
right?
I've got a kid. I've got Holly Dolly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what made you think that you could handle both?
Well, everyone else seems to manage okay. So what the hell? I always, what's weird? I always wanted to be a mum. I really wanted to be a mum.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I didn't really factor in the relationship part.
With the kid or with the father?
with the guy.
Yeah, right.
So I just want to be a mother and I want a baby, and I didn't realize that I'd have to meet a decent enough human being that I wanted to do that with, and that took a bit longer than I thought. So I didn't meet Steve until I was about 32.
I'm not surprised that that you didn't find Steve until you're in your 30s, though, because I mean, our 20s was it's just a series of fucked up relationships. Really.
Yeah, it's a blur of trying to figure out what you are, who you are, and how you want to be with someone else.
Yeah.
When you're on your own, you can kind of navigate that quite easily. But when you're with someone else, it's a very different pathway and negotiation and
fucking communication.
Yeah, it's really hard. And then you've just got to go, there's just so much I'm just going to have to accept all of that. And I'll just, I say it with all due respect. There's an enormous amount that my husband does that I just completely ignore.
Well, I think we can't take it. We can barely take on all of ourselves, let alone all of someone else, right?
Yeah, and I figure he's all right. He's a grown-up. He doesn't need me to figure that out. And I just don't.
I've seen your husband's name on some of my scripts. For people who don't know, Georgie Parker is married to a screenwriter.
Yes. Steve Borland. Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually one of the few screenwriters in the country that's much chop, isn't he? I mean, Australians aren't known for their quality writing. Do you know what I mean? It's not like in America they'll have 25 people in a writer's room and you see the product and you can see that the investment's been put into the writing. In Australia, we can barely cover 4 to 6 people in a writer's room, and then we expect them to turn around a TV show in fucking 2.5 weeks, and it's often no wonder we end up with the product we end up with.
Well, I think the culture, we just don't have the mindset for it here, and it's like, when we, and there is some great Australian product, but it's just when you try and measure it up against the Breaking Bads and the Better Call Sauls and the Successions, you go, why can't we do that? And we can do that, but we don't have the culture to do it.
I'm curious to know, to find something out about you during this chat that I didn't know earlier, to round out my idea of who Georgie is, or who George is. Not who Georgie Parker the actor is.
No.
But who George is. Like, it's a simple question, but who are you?
I am a person who came into the world with an enormous amount of energy and an enormous amount of enthusiasm and curiosity.
Good girl.
I've told most of my life to be quiet and sit still, and I have proudly done neither. I was diagnosed with scoliosis when I was 13, and I was put in a back brace. And my mum was very worried at the time that would literally encase my spirit, but it didn't. It just sort of made me think, oh, okay, so I thought my life was going that way, but now it's going that way. So I'll just charge that way 1,000 miles an hour. And that's what I've done. I've been very fortunate that I don't take obstacles as a no. I just take it as a, well, maybe not now, or maybe you can find another way to do that. So that's the way I kind of approach my life.
Right.
I'm not particularly interested in trying to make people like me. Even though I want people to be comfortable. So it's kind of a misconception that I want people to be comfortable, but I don't really care if they like me. So
yeah, I think that's a really helpful philosophy. I mean, we all want to belong.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we shouldn't feel the need to be approved of.
I don't need to belong to everybody. Yeah. I mean, I have my people, they're in my, in my life. Some are new to my life. Some have been in my life for 50 years. So, and all of these qualities really help in my workplace where, when I'm acting. In my life, I'm fortunate to still have both my parents. They're very old, but they're amazing. My mum at 86 is still educating herself. She was a history teacher. My dad was Tony Parker from Parker Furniture. He designed it. And he was, and he's still working with people now, and he's 91. And so, I'm very fortunate. I feel very fortunate, even though I've had a lot of obstacles. I've recently found out my spine has deteriorated quite a lot to 77.
Oh, yay. Isn't that awesome?
It's so great. I thought I only had the spinal surgeon, these guys, I feel so sorry when I barrel into their offices. So I've had a hip replacement, which was amazing. And that guy, the doctor, Professor Ruff, was amazing, mad and brilliant. He put me onto a wonderful spinal surgeon, Randolph Gray. I walk into his office and it's like, whoa. And he said, your spine has a prolific curve. And I went, yeah, it's about 62 degrees, isn't it? And he went, no. And I went, what is it? And he said, it's 77 degrees. So I have a 77 degree curve. I can't even figure that out. I get a lot of nerve pain down my leg. I live with pain every day.
What's your philosophy on dealing with pain? Because a lot of people live with pain. And could learn from your experience. How do you deal with the pain?
I deal with it actively. So I swim. I move my body every day in any way I can. You have to stay fairly light, because the less pressure on your infrastructure, the better. I have very poor normal function. So I have to kind of find my way to move around. 30% of my brain is always thinking, what kind of pain am I going to be in? Do I need to see the physio? Do I need to take pain relief? It just takes up space in your head. But what I try and do is relegate it into not feeling like pain, but something that needs attention. Because if you think you live in pain, it's very debilitating, and it can really stop you from getting involved in life the way you want. So I try to make it not, I don't register it as pain. I register it as a sensation that might need attention.
I think that's a fantastic mentality, and I'm glad I asked the question. You're a curious person, you mentioned earlier. I'm curious as to what you're curious about. What's occupying your curiosity at the today?
Well, I'm the person that buys National Geographic. And,
okay.
Yeah, so I love history. I love all the world wars. I love.
I would not have picked you for a military history buff.
I find it fascinating how people get themselves into these ridiculous situations where they're volunteering all their youth up to die. I just think, well, that's become a good idea. So screw them. Fuck them. And it's all a bunch of white guys. I mean, come on. I mean, I love men. This is not a man bashing thing.
Yeah, sure.
It's not interesting to me, but it's interesting that, a bunch of white guys walk around with flags and keep claiming other people's territory, and then completely desecrating and killing off and the indigenous cultures where they've managed to live there for quite a long time successfully, and we don't think to take any, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
I find that whole thing interesting. I find it fascinating. I'm interested in, just about anything. I'm not that fascinated in sport, so I don't. Yeah. But film, yeah. But mainly history. I love history.
Oh, okay. Well, my equivalent would probably be, and I've only just picked it up, as cosmology.
Well, yeah.
It is.
Are you a Sagan freak?
I think it's similar to history in its sheer horror.
Yeah.
It's so fucking terrifying.
How important we feel and how inconsequential we are.
And we've gone up there, and I tell you what, there's more than heaven up there. But the further you look, the more despair you find.
Yeah.
It's just it's done my head in, and I don't think it's good for my mental health. But I'm sadistically interested.
Yeah. So you have to find a way to look at it where it somehow fills you with wonderment and awe, and not horror and
and depression.
And depression, and like how inconsequential I am.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's really healthy to kind of to understand your insignificance.
Yeah.
But also really healthy to try and find as much importance in things as you can. Sorry, I don't have a memory of my mum.
Okay.
So I didn't grow up feeling like I had one. I knew that I had come from one, but she was a ghost. She was this mythical creature. All I knew was that she had died.
Yeah.
And then when I got a bit older, I'd heard that she'd killed herself. And then and basically I was too scared to ask anyone about her because I didn't want to upset my dad. I mean, clearly something terrible had happened. Yeah. And I didn't want to upset my father. That was literally, and there was only really an older sister to ask, because my sister was Connie. She didn't know much either. So I had this sister that was 9 years older than me. And eventually I had the courage to quietly ask her on the side, hey, listen, what's happened to Mum? And she said one sentence. She said, Sam, just be glad you didn't grow up with her.
Oh no. Oh.
Yeah. Oh. And that was when I started to realize that my sister, who was 12 when my mum died, she found Mum when she was 12. I'm so upset for my sister. Yeah. Because and then when she told me I should be glad that I didn't have to grow up with that, it made me feel like maybe Mum had done it for our sake because she knew.
Maybe.
And it gave me all kinds of weird thoughts. And she was this crazy poet lady. I just knew nothing about her. And eventually I found her in a compendium of poems, an anthology of poems called Mother, I'm Rooted. and it was an anthology of Australian women's poets.
Wow.
And in that anthology, there were 6 poems written by my mum. I found her. I found her in a book, and she was a great poet.
Wow.
And then when I was 21, I was rifling through my dad's filing cabinet for a reason that we don't have time to go into now, and I found a file that said Meryl's poems. My mum's name was Meryl.
Yeah.
And I was about 21, and I opened up this file, and there were 300 of my mum's poems, handwritten in her own hand.
How
written,
was that?
written, amazing. I got to know her through her poetry. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Written in various states of despair, and in states of really, really clear states as well. She was obviously super smart and, super empathic and an amazing individual.
Yeah.
And second last poem said at the top, it was the only poem that didn't have a title. The second last poem just said it in brackets at the top, for Samuel Joseph.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're kidding me.
Yeah. And it was I'll show you it. It's protected in fireproof, well, not fireproof, but fire resistant glass. Can you see that up there?
I can.
That's the poem I found that my mum wrote me. And it's I don't have a lot of possessions, but it's clearly my most treasured possession. And so I got to know my mum through her poetry. And would you like to hear the last verse?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wonderful poem. It's quite complex, but it really simplifies at the end. It really gets really simple. And it just finishes quite elegantly with, all the seas of joy sound wonderful. All the seas of joy rise to sing for you, boy. Surge and swell and roar. All the seas of joy sound wonderfully near since you've been here.
Oh, baby.
And I got everything I needed as a son in that moment when I got proof that she loved me.
Mm-hmm.
And
you did.
And my sister Connie didn't get that poem.
Yeah.
And my sister Hilda found her dead, and they dealt with the reality of it, and I got the poetic element. It's and so I've been through this fascinating kind of lifelong quest to know my mother, including moving to my own old hometown and getting a job in the pub where she used to drink at, and going and finding all of the people that knew her, and I've pieced together a picture of my mum.
Totally understand that treading in her footsteps would make you feel close because you're in part of her world.
Well, I mean, the poetry takes me right inside her mind and her heart.
Yeah.
And so look, I suppose I've taken too long to say this, and I'm sorry to make it all about me. But when my sister Connie got cancer, my sister Connie, after she lost mum, she just wanted to be a mum, and she wanted to see her kids through, because our mum didn't, and she had a point to prove, and she had those kids just as soon as she could, and she was seeing them through, and then breast cancer scuttled her plans, and she wasn't able to see her kids through. So it's another generation of Johnsons that have been hampered by an absence of mums.
Yeah.
Now I don't know whether it's because Connie couldn't finish her mothering career, or whether I lost my mum early, but I've got a major thing for mums. I love mums.
Yeah.
And I channeled all of that into this idea of creating a book called Dear Mum. And it's an anthology of letters to mums, and it's I'm going to show you the cover.
Oh, please do.
It just arrived today. It just arrived today. Can you see it?
Oh my God, that's so beautiful. Oh,
beautiful.
That's beautiful.
And Georgie Parker. Because you're an acclaimed actor, we had to put you on the back cover.
Yes, you did.
I want to let you know who you're there with.
Yes, tell me.
You've got friends of yours probably like Guy Pearce and Amanda Keller and Rebecca Gibney.
Oh, beautiful.
And Patty Newton.
Oh, Patty. Woo!
Yeah. Now I want you to read your letter, but before you do,
Yeah.
Georgie, I want you to talk to me as a mum.
Mm.
What about your mum?
Oh, yeah.
Because the letter can do that.
Yeah.
I want you as a mum, as someone who's been mummed. What is motherhood? What is mumming? What is it to be a mum? What did I miss?
Oh, wow. Well, it's interesting. I don't mother the way my mother did, but I thought my mother was perfect. But I definitely mother in my own way, which is I'm a lot of fun, but I'm not her best friend. I definitely want her to feel like she can trust me with anything, and nothing is off limits. Any question is I'll answer anything. I don't care how weird it is or how confronting it is. It's like, ask me. Who else are you going to ask? And I feel like we have that amnesty of questions. I admire my daughter. I let her know it. I trust her. If she's anxious about something, I help her as much as I think that would be useful. And then the rest, it's okay to feel uncomfortable. It's okay to be anxious. It's okay to not know how things are going to work out. And it's okay to fail. And that is part of knowing when you succeed. You've got to know all that stuff to know when something's right. You've got to know when it's wrong. So I hope I've given her that. I love her without limits. And but I also want her to have her own life and to feel what it's like to be truly independent. And, so it's, I mean, it's the fullest journey I've ever been on, much more full than my relationship with myself. It's like my heart is outside my body.
Wow.
But I've got a very, I wouldn't say compliant, but she's not someone who tests the boundaries. She's an artist, like a painter. Wow. So she's very inquisitive. She's much more of an introvert than me, but she has a wicked sense of humor. She's creatively, endlessly curious. She has a beautiful brain. She's had her fair share of anxiety, but is open with it and very comfortable with it and talks very freely about it. So she's not ashamed by it. I'm very fortunate that I got the daughter I got. When she was 6, I put her to bed and she said to me, "Are you glad you picked me?"
Oh. No, that's too much.
That pretty much sums her up.
Stop it.
She's quite whimsical and quite magical, so I'm very lucky. But I don't think it does them any favors if you sugarcoat everything. And I really want her to know that even if it's bad, she can handle it. But I think being a good parent, being a good mum, is letting them know that it won't always go their way. And even though you think they're the best thing that ever happened, other people out there won't, and it's okay.
Hey, would you do me the honor? Because I've read your letter. I love your letter that you've written for our Dear Mum book for my benefit, for me, because this is a gorgeous journey that I'm on with this mum thing. Would you read your letter to your mum out loud so that I can? Because reading it off the page is great, but I thought if I could hear it in your voice as well, that would really round it out for me.
Okay, I will do it now.
Thank you.
Okay. Darling Mum, hey Rosie, how do I start a letter to the most important person in my life, and what do I want to say? I want to say you're my first memory, and that memory is unbridled attachment. I would be 4 or 5 years old and trying to imagine a life without you, and all I saw was an empty night sky in my mind. Then as I got older and my enthusiastic, exuberant personality evolved, you embraced it unconditionally. You let me feel totally confident in being me, and that if someone thought I was too loud, too hyperactive, too dreamy, that it was really their problem. I was a free spirit and you embraced it totally. But you also encouraged me to be observant, curious, to nurture my friendships, and most of all, go after my dream. I love your laugh, your historical and political knowledge, your passion for music and the arts, your freedom of expression, and yes, swearing, and your love for us, your kids, and grandkids. But God help anybody who calls you grandma. When I was pregnant with my daughter, all I wanted was to wear your oversized red wool cardigan, and I remember you wearing it when I was little. I felt so safe and also a huge sense of love and comfort when I wore it. That's my overriding memory of you, Mum. Love, humour, music, colour, acceptance, vigorous debates, shouting at the TV, long conversations, and a huge smile. Love from George.
Wow. That is so, that's super, that is super cool. You scored yourself a good mum.
I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, she pushes buttons, and I wouldn't have it any other way. You know, she's confronting and honest to a fault,
yeah.
but also it's like, what would you gain from not being honest when you're 86? It's like, and you know, and she was always honest, but now she wears it with much more pride, and I'm so happy for her that she has the confidence to do that.
I can't wait to send you your copy and to give her a copy.
I can't wait.
And
I can't wait.
And can you when you give it to her, can you give it with my love also?
Oh my God, yes, absolutely,
yeah.
Sammy, absolutely. She'll love that.
I've got to, you know how people, when they do things like Brian Naylor on the news when I was growing up used to say, "May all your news be good news." You know, they call it a sign off. Like I'm trying to work out what I want my sign off to be.
Okay, well, don't tell. Oh yeah, what's your sign off? What have you come up?
I want you to tell me whether it's shit or not, and then if you
I
think,
will.
and then if you and then if you think of a better one, text me, because I'm in the market for a good sign off, not just. But what do you think about be kind and stay curious?
I love it.
Well, let's end on that.
I love it.
Okay.
Stay kind. No, what is it? Be kind and stay curious.
Yeah.
Yes, because it doesn't end.
Yeah. So you like it?
Yeah, it's a goodbye for now.
Should I keep it?
Yes.
All right, cool. Because you're my first, so I'm road testing it on you.
I'm your first.
You're my first. You have you've popped my potty cherry.
Potty cherry.
Yeah. So hopefully you'll consider chatting with me again down the road.
Of course I would. My God, anytime.
That leaves me just with a thank you and love. I appreciate you helping us out with this book. This book will probably raise $1 million for cancer research, you know.
I really hope it does. It's a beautiful concept, and it's such an important thing to get out there in the universe, you know.
Well, it's not just a celebration of mums. It helps kick cancer in the
ass.
Yeah, that's a much better word than the one I had. Bye-bye, darling. Much love.
Darling. Oh, bye,
Thank you.
sweetheart.
Thank you.